On this week's episode, how will Master Chief Saga fare as a TV series? Some early thoughts on Oscar's Best Picture, and what's this about a Play-Doh movie? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos.
Welcome to the pop culture cosmos.
And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there that's all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break, PopCultureCosmos.com, Humanican Media, Vampires and Vitae, and everything that we do at the Pop Culture Cosmos, including all the things that we do in the tabletop RPG realm, because we are the #1 tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook. So check us out today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Plus, we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day right there at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. And if you can support all that, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own Play-Doh master of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at PopCultureCosmos.com. Humanican Media with his great shows, the Super BS Gamescast and Topicocalypse, plus all the things that he does, including his great book, Congratulations, You Suck, which was on sale last time I checked at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What is up? Okay, so I got my glasses back, and
Yes.
you remember that jump from like tube TVs to like 4K flat screens?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how this feels. You know, like put them on, everything came into focus. It was beautiful.
Well, that was like me when in 2021 when I finally got my 4K TV from my 1080 TV, and it's just like, the clarity. I just saw Turning Red the other week, and I just a great movie, and people need to check it out on Disney Plus. Absolutely tremendous movie. Yeah. And I told my friend at Pixar how beautiful it was. It is an outstanding movie to watch on a 4K television. Absolutely stunning. Absolutely beautiful. So I told Melinda, I said, Josh would love this when I say this, but the colors pop.
Hey, that's what it's all about. Those popping colors, man.
Oh my gosh, you got to see it, my friend. And I know you've got some young ladies in your life that would truly appreciate Turning Red. It is something I think that every family should go ahead and check out. I really highly recommend it. And again, it's probably the best looking movie I've seen so far. Maybe Dune for live action purposes, but man, as far as colors are concerned, there is nothing better right now on 4K.
Yeah, my kids were actually watching that this morning, and they I dropped in, saw bits and pieces of it. Looks like a pretty cool movie.
It is absolutely well done by Pixar. But you've been doing some things now that you have your glasses. What have you been trying to get into before we head on to the show?
So last night I sat down, played a little bit more of Horizon Zero Dawn. It's the first time in a long time. Got to play some games. Still digging it. You know, I mean, there's been a lot of things coming out that's kind of like pushed that game to the back of people's gaming stacks, but I'm digging my time with it. Watched the Atom Project. I know we were supposed to talk about that last week, but we kind of had a little emergency with the internet here. I dig it. It's not a great film, but it's not a bad film. You know,
it's Ryan Reynolds' best performance on a Netflix film, and it's a solid popcorn film. I think.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean that's what I was telling my wife. I'm like, this feels like The Mummy to me. Like I can just sit back. I don't have to think about anything. And when I always reference The Mummy with movies, like I feel like that's like a good bar for me. You know, like something where I can sit back and enjoy it. I don't have to think about it. I can just kind of like kick my feet back. I'm watching it, but I'm not at the same time. I'm not like critiquing it so hard because of what it is. I just kind of enjoyed it for the fact that it was enjoyable.
Absolutely. Until you saw The Rock in The Mummy Returns. I think it was The Mummy Returns, right? Where he comes out in the,
Yeah,
one of the worst CGI moments of all time.
And it sucks because that was actually a pretty solid movie up until that point.
Yeah. Well, we won't talk about that too much, but he's going to be hopefully showing us in the not too distant future some highlights of Elix 2 and also as well Cyberpunk 2077 Next Gen. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping to hear his thoughts and see some video on that. But when it comes to what we were talking about with Horizon Forbidden West, when Horizon Forbidden West came out, it came out a week ahead of Elden Ring. If I was in Sony's shoes, I would have thought Elden Ring is this nice Dark Souls-like game. I'm not expecting a whole lot of it because in North America, I don't think it really had the foothold that they thought it would have. And then Elden Ring comes out to such tremendous praise. And for a game that really not a whole lot of people or as many people thought everybody knew about, my gosh, it's sold and it has sold well ever since. The continuous interest in that game has, I don't want to say trounced Horizon Forbidden West, but it certainly has gained a lot of attention and traction since then. I think Horizon Forbidden West, any momentum that it tried to create or it tried to have, got zipped out by Elden Ring.
Yeah, and it was funny too because I don't know if people expected Elden Ring to do as well as it did, but it definitely
no one did.
But even before the official release date was announced, because it got pushed back, putting Horizon Forbidden West out at that point should have been kind of something that was thought about. And then what's even more foolish was the week after Elden Ring came out, they put out Gran Turismo.
Yes.
And I have not heard a peep about Gran Turismo since the initial reviews came out.
I agree with you on that. Nobody's talked about Gran Turismo 7 at all. And Horizon Forbidden West, it'll be mentioned as far as one of the top games of 2022 when all is said and done. But with Elden Ring getting a lot of the press, I think that a lot of the starch was taken out of Horizon Forbidden West. And I think that's something that Sony did not anticipate, that not only Elden Ring has taken out one hit with Horizon Forbidden West, or at least done a lot of damage to it sales-wise and interest-wise, but like you said, totally wiped out GT7 off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and then what are your thoughts on Stranger of Paradise here? Because that was a game that everyone was excited about, but it's also releasing, because right now it's foolish to put anything out within a month behind or in front of Elden Ring. So what do you think about Stranger of Paradise? You think that this is going to be another Final Fantasy type 0 game that just kind of gets
it's
crushed?
there
It's there and people kind of forget about it because of how and when it came out?
Because the reviews are out already on it.
Yeah, it's like 8s.
Yeah,
not bad.
Not bad, but I think, like you said, because of the interest people still have in Elden Ring, that I think it's going to be wiped out. Plus, Square Enix has not pushed this game at all as far as into the mindset of general gamers out there. So Elden Ring, one thing that they did once they started seeing the buzz, once they started seeing the 10 start to roll out, they started a massive push on advertising and promoting this game, Elden Ring. So now, like you said, it's going to be for a month, Elden Ring is going to be the game a lot of people are talking about and a lot of people are experiencing. A game like you said, with Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise, it's another one of the many Final Fantasy games I think that people are going to miss simply because of the fact that it just seems like another iteration that people don't necessarily want or need.
Yeah, and I'm a longtime Final Fantasy fan, and I do plan on playing this one, but I was sitting there thinking about it last week. I'm like, do I buy this, or Tiny Tina's Wonderland comes out this week too, so where is my money best spent?
Tiny Tina's Wonderland, that's another game which probably will have some advertising backing because it's 2K, which is also trying to deal with WWE 2K22, which also came out in the past few weeks, although that may be different enough so that it might have found its own niche because the reviews are not great, but positive enough so that it's a large enough change from the past few iterations, which have been really ravaged. So this is a step in the right direction for the most part for WWE that may garner enough interest in sales going forward. But for a game like Tiny Tina's, which again will get some advertising power, it's now in question whether or not it will become a hit.
And here's a big factor too. Do you and we always talk about like 2007 and 2000. What was it?
Yeah, 2018. I think you said that's when you liked.
Yeah, somewhere where like all these games came out back to back to back to back, and there was a lot that year that I wanted to play that I just kind of forgot about. And I feel like we're kind of reaching a point here where there's, and I really hope the end of the year is like stellar for games, but there's been so much that's come out since January that I feel like I've missed out on some things that I wanted to play because I saw the
ID at Xbox. Yes, we talked about that on Friday about some of the great things like Trek to Yomi. I love that game. The look of it is just outstanding. WrestleQuest, which was also something that was really interesting as far as a quirky type game. Curse to Golf was also mentioned.
Yeah, like there was a lot of things there that like I had been thinking to myself like, oh, it'd be cool to play that when it comes out. And even Tunic, like I kept thinking like, oh, it'd be cool to play those games when they came out, and then I just completely forgot about them.
Because, we talked about that on Friday. Tunic as a Zelda clone, which is getting good grades as well. That's another game that might be in the path of Elden Ring and the destruction that Elden Ring may cause to all these games. Now, this is something you talked about, and you mentioned this. This is the backlog of games that we're now experiencing, of games that were affected in the pandemic. These are games that could have been or might have been under normal circumstances released back in 2020 or 2021. They're now finally getting released, one on top of the other, which is great for gamers that they'll have the choice. But as always is the case, when you see this, a lot of them are going to get swept under the rug. A lot of solid games are going to get swept under the rug.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting on, I got Cyberpunk and Elix. Elix is one of those games too, like people seem
Elix 2, just to let everybody know.
Elix 2, people seem to be enjoying it. I did play it for an hour, and like I like the world. The world's cool and the characters are interesting, but I do have an issue with the combat, which I will speak more on next week. But
you and a lot of other people, I'll just say that.
Yeah, but that game is another one that was sort of anticipated, online. There's some hype for it, and then it came out and nobody really played much of it. So
well, again, when we talk about that, we're going to talk about a bigger picture with THQ Nordic when we do. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, between that though, and I'm sitting on Gran Turismo and Horizon and Elden Ring. There's so much that I don't know if I'm going to ever get to. I do want to finish Elden Ring, but I'm also trying to get through.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. I'm one of those people who've been slowly trying to lure enemies out of camp so I can take them out one at a time. And I always get terrified when I see one of the other enemy types looking over. I'm like, oh no, he's going to follow him out of camp, because I'm not at a point where I can take on more than one person in that game.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful and it's terrifying. And, I hope I'm going to finish it one day. But all the people that I know that are playing Elden Ring have picked up these other games, but they're like, yeah, I only played it for like an hour, then I switched back to Elden Ring. So, I don't know if that goes to show you what the completion rate is going to be for any game that's not Elden Ring, but we're definitely in a high season of gaming traffic here.
That we are indeed, which is great for gamers, but for these publishers and developers, it might be problematic, because if one game is getting a lot of the press and the pub and the interest from gamers, a lot of these other games will be known as games you should have tried, but unfortunately got swept under the rug. But if you have thoughts out there on games that you're playing right now on your consoles or PC, let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up after the break, we're going to go ahead into the rest of the show, where we're going to be talking about a lot of good things, including Halo, Atlanta, the weekend box office, Oscars Best Picture odds, Severance, Hogwarts Legacy, Daredevil in pre-production, maybe? The Play-Doh movie? All that coming up after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Dig on America.
Hey guys, this is Jason Dutch with Dig on America podcast, and I'm here with
Big Hops.
And I'm also here with
Mikey Famine.
Dig on America here, we explore how American history, policies, and sometimes even our pop culture created the social and political issues facing Americans today. You can check out our website, digonamerica.com. We're on every single audio podcast app there is out there, Pandora, Spotify, etc. Subscribe on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/DOA podcast. Hopefully you'll listen to the show, guys.
Dig on America.
And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Josh Peterson and me, Gerald Glassford. Also want to mention, again, we're the #1 tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook. We got a lot of great games, including the games run every single weekend by our DM, Mitch. Also, as well, the Demolition Force, which Roger runs each and every Monday. And, of course, everything throughout the week, including the great stuff that Melinda and Rob run, including their hit series, Vampires and Vitae. So please check it out. Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, along with the latest news and information each and every day on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. But my friend, there's so much more to talk about on today's show. We try to set people up for the week, plus give them a recap of the weekend. And we'll do the weekend box office here in a second because there's a big surprise and an angry rant I have on somebody coming up here in a bit. But I wanted to ask you this. It's finally here. A full-fledged Halo TV series is coming this week to Paramount Plus on March 24th. It is something that, again, has been tried in various forms, Xbox or Xbox not approved. It's been something done as far as fan service. It's been something done as far as little mini-series. It's been something done in a web series. It's been something done in our YouTube. It's been done in various forms, but never as a full-fledged major operation that's taking place as far as this series, which is being executive produced by Steven Spielberg, as again it heads to Paramount Plus this week. Your thoughts on this? The early reviews are okay, not great. It's taking a little bit of a turn with Master Chief and the Covenant. It's going to have some things that they retain from the game, and in a very wise move, I think they're going to bring some things organically in that are a little bit different from the game. Your thoughts on the Halo TV series coming up later this week?
So this has been something, like you said, it's been in the pipeline for a long time. We've seen different iterations, Forward Unto Dawn, and we saw those, what was it, the Peter Jackson shorts that happened before. I think it was when Halo 3 came out, sometime around then.
A little after that.
Yeah, and there's been, there's been various rumors of different talents attached to a Halo movie script for a while, whether it's Peter Jackson, Guillermo del Toro, Neil Blomkamp, I think, was attached to it for a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought that was going to be a done deal with him as a director.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because they had all the budget and like the pre-production stuff they put together ended up being turned into District 9 because of some kind of contractual issue with Microsoft. But having seen the clips online and seeing the trailers, and I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I do have a lot of respect for Kiki Wolfkill. She's part of the creative team behind Halo, and she's been behind the scenes on Halo for a really, really long time. So, I trust her with the mythology, and I do like the fact that she said this is existing on its own timeline, right? So we don't have to really worry about any existing mythology or breaking what's already been done with the games, which have become, somewhat convoluted between Halo 4 and Halo Guardians and Halo Infinite.
You think?
So, yeah. So it's nice to be able to take this story from the beginning and seeing it kind of evolve organically, as opposed to having to stick to some pre-existing thing that's kind of been Star Wars, like nothing makes sense anymore. So now they can kind of take it back and correct some of the things that they know people didn't like with the games, which I'm down for.
But I do like some of the things that this Halo universe has created. Like, for instance, the origin story for Halo, for Master Chief, before the Fall of Reach. That book, The Fall of Reach, is a great and outstanding book. The beginnings of Master Chief, John 117. That whole thing, as far as he was taken as a child, they put clones in place. They put him through, and others, through a torturous origination. Then they gave them the augmentation to make them into the super soldiers that they are. They go after the insurrectionists, and they think they're created to go ahead and fight the insurrectionists. And all of a sudden, this new threat arises, and then this Halo planet, the whole 9 yards. I love that part of it. But again, once it veers off, and then it's like hit and miss. Again, like everything that you do, once you have a universe that you want to expand, it is going to be hit and miss. And over the many years, I mean, there's so many people that have attempted to expand upon it in books, in comic books, graphic novels. Again, like we talked about with web series and shorts and things of that nature, it's been hit or miss. So I'm hoping to see something maybe centered and grounded, but I do know there's going to be some changes to it, and I'm expecting that going in.
You know, and I'm sure they're going to keep a lot of the foundational stuff, you know, the backstory of the Spartans and the fall of Reach and religious conflict of the Covenants. And I'm sure a lot of that stuff will stay in there. And I really hope that they explore the Forerunners more in this, because all that stuff was really interesting to me. And then Halo 4 and 5 kind of blew it. So, you know, I'm really hoping they go back and take a look at some of that stuff. But, and I'm going to be honest, as like a longtime Halo fan, this is going to be something that has to hit within the first 3 episodes, or else it could ruin the reputation of the game, you know, and of the franchise in itself. Because that's, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic, but there's so many ways something like this could go wrong.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And in doing so, they're taking a big risk. They're obviously spending a great deal of money on this, and with the Star Trek shows that are getting such great reviews and great interest because the fact that they have such great production values behind it, how will this stack up as another Paramount Plus series? This was actually going to be premiering on Showtime, and they decided to move it over to Paramount Plus. So I'm interested to see where this falls, but it is the Halo TV series coming up later this week. Hopefully I will have a review by this time next week. I don't think I'll have a review by the Friday show with Melinda Barkhouse Ross is the PCC Multiverse, but I'm hoping to have a review the first episode by the time you and I get back on. Hopefully you will have seen it as well for next Monday, but it is a Halo TV series with Master Chief heading to Paramount Plus. What are your thoughts out there on the Halo TV series with Master Chief coming back to your living room? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But also, before we head on to Atlanta, which is getting outstanding reviews, wanted to mention that Season 2 is coming in the not-too-distant future for those playing the Halo Infinite multiplayer. I'm going to tell you, man, I think that it's time for me to eat some crow. And I told you how much concern I have as far as the delay, the year delay that Halo Infinite did, and the ultimate release that they did as far as the main game not being released until early December, and then the free-to-play multiplayer. Well, it looks like from all appearances that this release plan has been very effective. The reviews ultimately for it has been very positive. You had very positive things to say about Halo Infinite. And I think when all is said and done, even though, again, it should have been released when it was supposed to have been released on the initial offering for Xbox Series S and X, I think that would have been a killer app to get everything started. And I think that would have given them a unique and definitive advantage over Sony PlayStation 5. But ultimately, the year was spent to good use. And ultimately, Halo Infinite, you've got to deem a success for Microsoft. And it just shows that they're not so concerned anymore about the physical sales. They're more concerned about making sure that Xbox Games Pass is a platform you can believe in going forward.
I would say that, but I also think that their content, you know, like it's not just about putting out content with them. Remember the year when they had all the shovelware for the Wii, and they just just kept putting things out and out and out, and that ended up like burying the Wii eventually. With Microsoft, you know, they want to put out content, they want stuff for Games Pass, but they're also, I'm noticing this content is very carefully curated. You know, they're making sure that they're spending a lot of time on it. The stuff going out there is good. They're listening to the feedback on a lot of this. And I don't know how much of the Halo stuff was them saying like, oh, hey, this game truly isn't finished, or if it's just like Sony fanboys or Microsoft fanboys saying like, this looks really bad. But I think taking that extra year only helped them out. And having played the finished product of Halo Infinite, I can say that I really enjoyed this game. Like coming off of Halo 4 and 5, like Halo 4 was okay. Halo 5 I did not enjoy, but Halo Infinite was an experience that I think was well done from start to finish. And I'm hoping, and they're doing a good job with the multiplayer stuff. The multiplayer is hard for me because I have a hard time with multiplayer games these days, but I'm hoping that they're going to start adding on to the campaign too, because I don't know if you watch into the credits and you see Atriox unleashing the banished, but I'm hoping that we're going to actually see downloadable add-ons for this game moving forward, because they said Infinite is going to be the platform for the future of Halo. So we'll see, but I'm really keeping my fingers crossed, because the game in its current state, or the story at least, feels complete, but it also feels like there's more to it that we didn't get.
I just gotta say, man, I'm eating crow on this one. So I admit when I'm right and I admit when I'm wrong. I'm always so quick to pat myself on the back when something I say comes to fruition. And I remember in the early days of the show, it was happening quite a bit, and it's still happening. But I want to make sure that when I get it wrong, that I go ahead and I admit it, and I also tell everybody out there that it was a good move by Microsoft. Ultimately, was it the best move? I still think it should have come out day one on the release of Xbox Series S and X. But you know what? Hey, they obviously know what they're doing now at Xbox. They obviously have a lot of faith in the Xbox Games Pass being a platform going forward. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure enough or convinced enough yet that that's what they want to do, but it's clear now that that's their premise going forward. Later this year, when Starfield debuts on Xbox Games Pass, and that's going to be a major deal for them. We saw glimpses of what they're going to talk about and what they're going to do in the game here last week, with some storyboarding and some conversations with the developers on that. So it's interesting to see what Starfield will bring. But again, Halo, the future of it, it seems to be in good hands. We'll see what happens with this TV series, but I'm looking forward to seeing the future endeavors for Master Chief. Finally, it's been the first time in a long time, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Master Chief will do.
Absolutely. And I hope they keep that soundtrack. I know Marty O'Donnell found himself in some hot water with Bungie, but I hope they keep that classic Halo intro. Dun, 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 dun. I hope they keep that going.
I hope so as well. I think they have to. Indeed. If they try to change it, I think that's dooming them. But I don't think they're that stupid. But we'll see what happens, my friend. It is Halo TV series coming to Paramount Plus later this week, and Halo Infinite Season 2 in the not-too-distant future. We want to hear your thoughts on Halo. Where are you at with Master Chief? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the break, my friend, just wanted to point out real quick another series coming to TV in its third season. Finally, after 4 years, it's been delayed for a little while. One of the best performers out there, Donald Glover's back with his TV series Atlanta, as the crew goes over to Europe. And the word is coming out of it from South by Southwest, and the reviews are just scintillating. It's at a 95 on Metacritic. So this journey, this jaunt that they're going to have throughout Europe, and all the entertainment, the comedy, the drama that they create, because the show is so unique, it just is a showcase for Donald Glover and his immense talent that he has. Everybody who's talking about it as a masterpiece, as a masterclass, as a truly sensational show. Donald Glover's already said that season 4 will be its last. Your thoughts on Atlanta, coming later this week to FX on March 24th?
What I saw was good, and I feel like you said, Donald Glover is really...
He's one of the best out there today.
He's one of the best out there, really in any category. I mean, as far as music goes, and producer, director, actor, he's amazing. He does some really great stuff, and he's got a very unique view of society that translates well into his creative talents. And he has a way of bringing out certain things without isolating people in the process. And I've always kind of, I guess, respected his ability to do that, because there's not many people who can mix art with their opinions on things and have it come out well. And he does it truly well.
I'll tell you what, I'm very excited to see what's upcoming with Atlanta. Again, the reviews on season 3 from those who have seen it already are simply outstanding. It is simply said that this will probably go down by the end of season 4 as one of the best TV shows of this or any previous decade. So please check out Atlanta when it comes out later this week. But we want to hear your thoughts on Atlanta. Is it everything that you hope it is after a 4-year hiatus? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about the weekend box office and a major surprise that Box Office Mojo didn't help us out with. We're going to talk about that, plus the best picture ons. Severance is a big hit for Apple Plus, plus Hogwarts Legacy, Daredevil, and a Play-Doh movie? That's right. That's coming up after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos.
And if you're ready to talk toys,
I haven't stopped talking toys. Let's get to it.
it's the Jay and Rob Toy Show, and we're back for season 2 for 10 more episodes of toy talk and goodness. And this time, we talk Marvel figures, we talk DC figures, holy grails, play sets, what if scenarios, and so much more. But we're not alone. We've brought a few friends with us this time. All that and, of course, our action figure spotlight. So check out the Jay and Rob Toy Show Season 2, exclusively on Jinx Esports TV, Canada.
And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Josh Peterson and me, Gerald Glassford. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I want to ask you this, my friend. The weekend box office, it had its usual glamour with the Batman continuing to score success. It's now over $300 million at the box office here in the US alone, and it's been a big success for DC. Its residual returns and its fall is usually in between, I think, around 45% the past couple of weeks on the average, which is a very strong hold for a blockbuster film, because we usually see, like, in the second week, like a 60, sometimes even a 65% drop in its first week. This is holding very nicely, and it's been a great success for DC and Warner Brothers. It is the biggest film in the US so far this year. Another thing that's very encouraging is what came in second place here at the US domestic box office, and that is Jujutsu Kaisen 0. It's a prequel to the hit series on Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll produced this movie, and it has done gangbusters. In a limited release, 2,300 theaters, it has earned $17 million, which I'm kind of upset with Box Office Mojo because they didn't help us out by setting this up as something that was going to be released. It performed substantially better than the other releases of a similar nature in X and UMA. But getting back to this anime movie, my friend, that is a prequel to a successful TV series, you're the anime expert on this, man. How much information can you give people out there who are not familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and why it's become so popular?
You know, this is one that I have not actually had a chance to watch. You know, Crunchyroll's putting out all this great content, and I'm still trying to catch up on Attack on Titan. So, you know, from what I understand about this one, it is,
I guess, dealing with curses and just the power of magic. And of course, it goes into deep and dark areas, but
yeah, he's trying to protect humanity from monsters and demons and all
sorcerers. Yeah. And while still going to high school too at the same time.
He's
so
a busy guy. Yeah, I mean, there's all these anime films coming out. It's all content that, like, I didn't even know about. So now, like, I feel like I got to go back and watch that, and I got to watch more Demon Slayer, and there's just so much out there. But this brings me to a question for you. Do you think that we're going to get, because like you said, Box Office Mojo didn't report on this, but do you think we're going to get to a point where, like, they're going to have to start taking these anime releases seriously, like the box office as a whole? Because, you know, we had, you know, Demon Slayer, there's Knights of Sidonia came out for like a week run, and that was something that was pretty popular. And I remember back, you know, this is several years ago, but they would put out like new Inuyasha movies in theaters, and Mobile Suit Gundam, and the new Dragon Ball films. And a lot of these,
they're short window releases that get people in the theater.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And they might not make as much as a Marvel film, but still, like, these are getting bigger and bigger as the fan bases for these anime series grows. The fan base is getting bigger and bigger. So you're going to have more people going to the movie theaters to watch these. And I feel like this is going to be something that is going to have to start being taken serious as a box office contender.
Well, if Jujutsu Kaisen 0 doesn't do it for you, after getting 17 million at the box office, turning a profit for Crunchyroll, turning a profit for the movie theaters, and getting actually some eyebrow raising in Hollywood, then I don't know what will. Because Demon Slayer destroyed the box office in Japan, and for weeks and months in Japan. and did well overseas here in the United States. So I don't know. I don't know what will do it because seemingly they don't get the respect that they duly deserve.
Yeah, well, look at Dragon Ball Super Brawly when it came out. That made $122.7 million box office return.
Yeah. And just people just forget how successful these things are. And then you got to remember that they go to television, they go to the Crunchyrolls, go to the other places for anime, including Netflix, Hulu, etc., and they do gangbusters there. They're foundational pieces of these networks and these streaming outlets going forward. There's a reason why Crunchyroll still in the wave of streaming channels with big heavyweight production companies and heavyweight networks and heavyweight film companies behind it, that they're still able to find that niche because Crunchyroll knows that anime is popular. And that's something that I think that they don't take seriously in the right places yet. But maybe a movie like this, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, still can find a niche and still can raise some eyebrows there. Going forward, people will take this more seriously that are not just related to inside or a big fan of the anime world.
It's definitely leaving a footprint that nobody probably thought it would leave before. And I'm kind of excited to see that because there's a lot of great content out there, and it's kind of proving wrong people's misconceptions about exactly what anime is. You know, I posted something on Instagram talking about Mobile Suit Gundam and how it has evoked more emotion from me than most live action films, and people just make all these assumptions about what anime is. And I'm glad to see that there's a whole generation of kids coming up and loving this stuff.
People need to start taking anime seriously, and Jujutsu Kaisen 0 doing huge numbers at the box office for a limited release, for a series that's really done well on Crunchyroll with its prequel coming out in theaters and doing so well. I think it's got to raise some eyebrows that these big companies need to start looking and investing more into anime. I know you and I have talked about the Blade Runner series that went anime that we like. Was so
The Witcher too.
Yeah, The Witcher. I mean, all these well-known IPs going the way of anime. I really am looking forward to seeing what more can be brought out of the anime style and the anime industry as a whole. So I'm looking forward to it. And to Box Office Mojo, please give these releases more respect because they are something that people are interested in. And obviously by the results of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, it's obviously what people are interested in seeing. And they're not just being just one-offed and just thrown under the rug. So please go ahead and give a little bit more respect and a little bit more of a shout out to the great things that are happening in anime. What are your thoughts out there? Have you seen Jujutsu Kaisen 0 or the series that is based off of? Or what are you looking forward to in the world of anime? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we head on out, a few things to cover, my friend. The Oscar Best Picture is around the corner. One of the things I want to talk about are the odds. And if you go to oddschecker.com and you're looking at the Best Picture odds from all the various sites, my gosh, my friend, if you looked at it right now, it's crazy because there's over a dozen sites right now that have laid odds on the Best Picture.
Oh my God, Vegas Insider right now. It's
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it. Well, this is just all the offshore and the internet betting. I mean, I'm not even looking locally. I'm sure that come Oscar night, you could go right now to one of the casinos and lay some odds on it right now. But you don't want to do that right here in Vegas right now because March Madness is going crazy. So you've got all the March Madness bettors there. But right now, when you look at it, for the most part, the Power of the Dog is leading the way and is right now the slight favorite in most of these places. But Coda, which just won the PGAs last night as Best Picture, the Producer Guild Awards, is something that is gaining a lot of traction and momentum. This movie, it's actually a reimagining of a foreign film from earlier last decade. It's just something that I think a lot of people need to look into if they haven't already. It's Apple Plus. It's actually a big movie for them on Apple Plus, so please go ahead and check it out if you have Apple Plus. And we'll be talking more about Apple Plus here in a sec. But this movie, which talks about the lifestyle of deaf adults and the one individual that is able to interact with them all that can hear, it's got some great performances. And I'm telling you, my friend, this movie is going to get a lot of momentum going forward.
Yeah, you know what I'm noticing about this list is that a lot of these premiered on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And I just remember all the controversy all those years ago. Streaming films aren't real movies, and lo and behold.
Yes. Funny how a pandemic will do that, right?
Yeah. So I've only seen 2 of these films being nominated for Best Picture. I've seen Dune, I've seen West Side Story. But other than that, like I've heard Licorice Pizza is really good. Power of the Dog looks cool. But I don't see Dune.
Drive My Car has been an
Drive My
international
Car.
success.
That's right. Yeah.
Nightmare Alley, unfortunately, is like on the back end of it, but it got nominated. Guillermo del
Hey.
Toro.
Yeah, this will be his second nomination for Best Picture. He won the first one, didn't he, with Shape of Water?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That was a surprise to me. But yes, definitely something that he has out there, but I don't think that it's going to win because right now on various sites, it looks like it's the last or largest or longest shot out there as far as trying to go ahead and win. Right now, in fact, you can get 150 to 1 odds at certain places, or I even see 500 to 1 odds on Nightmare Alley. Don't Look Up. I didn't love it as much as some other people did. I thought it was good, not great. It's right in the middle of the pack, like you said, Licorice Pizza as well. Dune, I am so disappointed that it is not thought of higher. Right now, it's a middle of pack film. Now 25 to 1, 33 to 1, 50 to 1. I don't see great odds for. I mean, they're great odds if you want to try and go ahead and put some money down on it, but I don't see it as high as I would put it because, again, to me, I thought that was the best film of 2021. I thought it was absolutely beautiful and stunning and everything I wanted in a Dune film. So I'm kind of disappointed that it's at where it's at as far as on the food chain, on the betting line.
It's a more niche audience, though, for Dune. You know,
it's the biggest hit of all these financially.
Right. But as we've learned with the Oscars, financial hits are not always best film awards.
Yeah, I guess you're right on that. But I'm very disappointed to see it not be higher because I think it's very deserving. I think it should be in the realm of The Power of the Dog and Coda and Belfast, which is also getting some good odds as well. West Side Stories, 40 to 1. I've seen as low as 14 to 1, 20 to 1, 33 to 1. King Richard is in that same range, 15 to 1, 20 to 1, 40 to 1. With the great performance from Will Smith, I think that's buoying it. I think that it deserves a lot of praise, and I'm happy for its success. Dune, though, my gosh, it's behind it at, like, again, 25 to 1, 30 to 1, 50 to 1. Wish that was a little higher, which got a little bit more momentum going into it. But as you and I both know, it's all about the momentum. The last amount of voting has already taken place on it, so the winner has already been decided upon. It's just about announcing it at this point. But The Power of Dog, which has created some controversy, especially with Sam Elliott's comments on it, I think that has created a stir in the news. So we'll see if that actually comes through to fruition. But yeah, the odds are out there. If you want to go ahead and check it out, again, the site I checked out as oddschecker.com, which has like dozens of internet betting sites and the odds that are laid out on it. So if you want to check it out, it's at oddschecker.com. But please, if you have any thoughts on which movie,
do not bet your kids' college funds, please.
No. Do not bet that. Again, that's up to you. It's for entertainment purposes only. There you go. We prefaced it well, so they can't come at us. But yes, if you have thoughts on the Best Picture nominees and which one you think should win the Oscars, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com.
You're listening to the Pop Culture Cosmos. Don't touch that dial. Wait, do people still use dials?
If you're in the Las Vegas and Henderson areas and are looking to buy, sell, or trade the best in classic or current video games and pop culture collectibles, there's no better place to go than Retro City Games. From Xbox to PlayStation, Nintendo to Atari, the great crew at Retro City Games provides the best place to go for all your gaming options. Stop by their 2 awesome locations in Henderson and also the Las Vegas Strip, or follow Retro City Games on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest deals and new items. Without a doubt, there's no better place to go for your gaming needs than your friends at Retro City Games. Well, before we head on out, speaking of Apple Plus, that Coda, a great movie, is on currently right now that you can check out. Also on Apple Plus, we know about Ted Lasso and the awards it wins and the fact it's the best comedy out there, et cetera, et cetera. And I know Marcus de la Garza, who's still a great friend of the show, absolutely loves it and cannot say enough good things about it. Also, a show that I've been talking about over the past few weeks. It's getting a lot of praise and also a lot of fans. In fact, it's one of the highest rated streaming shows out there, and that's Severance from Ben Stiller. This show, if you've not started catching it yet, this is a show you need to catch. I will say it until the end of the season. This is a show you cannot afford to miss because it's creepy, it's mysterious, you don't know what turns. It seems like a very simple premise. Doesn't have like exotic locations or doesn't have like a ton of different places that they go and do. It's basically set in a workplace and a home life that's very structured and that's very limited. But my gosh, man, what they do with what they've been presented with is ultimately really, really good in this workplace setting. Again, with the severance, which is where they put a chip in your head and you go to your work and you do your work over the 8 hours. Then all of a sudden your memories of your work are completely forgotten outside of the world. And then when you go back into work, your memories from outside the world are completely forgotten for 8 hours. It's just the way that this is transpiring about why they're doing this, what secret projects are there, the whole departments that are never put together. They're never allowed to go ahead and congregate with each other, how they're trying to get together alliances and work with each other to figure out what's going on in this world. It's truly fascinating, my friend. And you really just want to know what's coming up next. And that's a credit to, again, executive producer Ben Stiller, who helped get this show to reality. And I will tell you what, this is a show you cannot afford to miss.
I am definitely going to check it out. I just realized that I have an Apple TV subscription, so I will probably check it out before we get rid of it. So good to know.
Absolutely. They're up to episode 5 as we're speaking right now, and I highly recommend it. Again, it is Severance. If you've not caught it, you might be one of the few that has Apple Plus that hasn't, because Severance has actually garnered a lot of people watching it. And if you have thoughts on Severance, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, we're almost out of here, my friend, but before we go, I know you wanted to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. Melinda Barkhouse-Ross and I, on the Friday show, we talked about it at length with the controversy. Did a 15-minute presentation last week on a state of play. It looks okay. It looks like this IP that you have, and as far as a game with a lot of substance, we're not sure if that's the case. But again, it's being set back by the comments that are continuously made by J.K. Rowling and the controversy that continues to follow her. In fact, the Harry Potter series as a whole is now in doubt in regards to that. So I want to hear your thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy before we head on out.
You know, it's interesting because I've been reading a lot about this in regards to J.K. Rowling. She said some things she shouldn't have, but
continues to say.
And continues to, but like it's become such a big deal that I'm one of those people who I'm able to look at creative things and remove the creator from them. But I think that's just something that a lot of people can't do. So I don't understand it, but I can see why other people would be frustrated by it. You know, in regards to Hogwarts Legacy, it's not going to stop me from playing the game. Like even before, all this happened, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to have an open world Harry Potter game. Like that would be fun. And I'm looking at this game and yeah, it looks fun. It's not Elder Scrolls, so you're not going to be able to like customize armor and all that stuff, but it still looks like it's something that's going to be worth throwing, several hours into. And, yeah, you're right. You're going to be able to cast your spells and all that. And honestly, I don't think that whatever the controversies are should have anything to do with how successful this game is. Just like I don't think it should cast a shadow over Fantastic Beasts. You can easily.
But it does, my friend. And
it does. And I get that. But I just like there's so much, when it comes to what people have said where, like the James Gunn thing. I don't understand any of these controversies. I do understand them, but I don't understand the inability to separate art from the artist, if that makes sense.
It does, my friend. But in 2022, it is a reality. And I think, again, for me, the future of Fantastic Beasts and Hogwarts Legacy is tied somewhat to J.K. Rowling. I think what will take it out of it is something we talked about on the Friday show, and that's Daniel Radcliffe returning to a Cursed Child movie if that ever gets made. But he said in recent comments that he has no plans anytime soon to make one. So yeah. I think until then, you're going to continuously get this brushback of what J.K. Rowling says. So you're just going to get this constant brushback. And we'll see when it comes next month to Fantastic Beasts, how that movie performs, how that movie does, because Johnny Depp is no longer in it. Mads Mikkelsen is playing the lead role of the bad guys. So we'll see where this movie goes as far as continuing the series and how well it performs at the box office. And we'll know if there's a true J.K. Rowling effect. But going forward, Hogwarts Legacy, when it comes out in the holiday season, we'll see how well it performs. Again, I want to see a little bit more substance to it. Other than just waving your wand and doing a little bit inside Hogwarts. I just want to see a little bit more, I think.
I want to see, yeah, I agree. And I want to see what an upgrade system looks like in that. Like, do you level up your, because the whole thing that makes a good RPG, as we know, is whether it's The Witcher or Cyberpunk or Final Fantasy, whatever, it's how you're able to upgrade your characters and their skill sets. With Hogwarts, it's going to be weird because there's no weapons, it's just your wand. So like, how is the upgrade system going to work in something like that? And are you going to be able to invite friends to your world?
Yeah, that's something that, again, will be seen, hopefully, and believed later this year with Hogwarts Legacy. But I still, again, want to see a little bit more substance. It reminds me a lot of the previous week when we saw Star Trek Resurgence. Okay, you got the character models down, and you got the IP down, and you got some of the lingo and some of the mannerisms and some of the familiar things from these IPs, but substance. What are you able to do within the environment of this? Or are you just going ahead, as we saw many years, for the 2 decades, for the 2000 decade and the 2010 decades, we saw these familiar IPs put onto a console or gaming platform, and it was just the IP and not much after that as far as what you can do with it. So I'm hoping that both Star Trek Resurgence and also as well Hogwarts Legacy will be this fulfilling adventure we're taking.
Yeah, I agree too. And it's hard because that world, the world of Harry Potter, feels like home to me. And I'm going to be very critical of whatever happens with that game, in terms of like how good it is. If they don't capture all the things that like made it feel magical when I was a kid reading the books, and it's going to affect how much time I'm willing to spend in it.
What are your thoughts out there on Hogwarts Legacy and Star Trek Resurgence? Please let us know at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Are you excited? Do you like what you see so far? Are you shying away from Hogwarts Legacy and Fantastic Beasts because of the comments continuously made by J.K. Rowling? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we head on out, something that was uncovered in a production magazine, that there's a pre-production going on for Daredevil, a TV series that's going to be centered in the MCU, which I know some people are absolutely excited about and ecstatic about, and some individuals out there have written against as far as Daredevil taking place in the MCU. I want to hear your thoughts as someone that's more invested in the Daredevil character than myself. So I want to hear your thoughts on this, my friend. It is looking more and more like there will be an eventual TV series. Again, it's in pre-production. This can be canceled at any time by Disney for whatever reason. They're obviously getting a lot of pub because they brought over the Marvel Netflix series and kept them untouched. They did not edit them. They did not go ahead and censor them. They went ahead and they put them on Disney Plus. You do have to use the parental filter on it because a lot of the episodes are mature rated, but to put a Daredevil TV series into production and possibly in the MCU, that's now a possibility that's on the horizon for Disney and Marvel.
Oh, I'm excited about it. I'm not the only person that loves this iteration of Daredevil. There's a lot of people who love Charlie Cox and what he's done with the character, and seeing him in Spider-Man. And me and my wife just got done watching all the seasons of Daredevil. We love it, and I talk to anyone who's watched the Netflix MCU shows, and they're always like, oh yeah, we love Daredevil. But Daredevil is definitely something that could translate very well into the MCU. They don't necessarily, Daredevil is violent, but it's not like hyper violent. It's not like the Punisher. And I could see it doing very well, keeping its like hard R edge to it, but also, there's a possibility of making it PG-13. But from what I understand, Moon Knight is pretty violent in itself. Yeah. So
we'll see that next week.
And we'll see that next week. So yeah, I definitely think there's room for Daredevil in the MCU, and Charlie Cox has expressed interest in playing this character for a long time. They've already introduced him in Spider-Man. They've introduced Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. But the big question here is, do you think they're going to pick up from where the Netflix storyline left off with Bullseye, or do you think they're going to go in a different direction while just briefly acknowledging what's happened in the past.
Well, why would they go to the trouble of initiating fans and putting all this on Disney Plus if they don't make a Disney Plus series in Daredevil that would continue with what's going on? Because you've got it right there in front of your face. It's not like you put it and hid it away on Hulu, which has a much smaller viewing base. You put this on Disney Plus. You put the Daredevil all 3 seasons right there on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So
everybody's calling it, what's making me question is everyone's calling it a soft reboot, which means that it's like you're not disassociating from what's happened before, but you're kind of creating a new jumping on point for people.
I think ultimately that's what they're going to have to do. But yeah, I don't think they're going to ignore what's happened and taken place in the past with Daredevil. And I don't think they should. Again, why would you put all 3 seasons on Disney Plus? Because that's the big ticket of all the Defenders, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, all those shows, The Punisher, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of all those, the one people are going to gravitate to the most and the one that's going to get the most numbers of all these series is Daredevil.
Yeah.
So, they can't ignore what went on the previous 3 seasons. But a soft reboot, I would think they would have in mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, either way, I'm excited about it. I'm just excited to see Daredevil back on the screen with new content, not just Matt Murdock. That was cool, but actually seeing his story fascinates me because, as a kid with a very religious background, like I feel a lot of the struggles that he goes through. And I guess that's why that show resonates so well with me.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, it's been great talking about this, but does everyone out there have thoughts on Daredevil as it's now listed in pre-production that a potential MCU TV series could take place? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But before we head on out, my friend, some big heavyweight individuals out there, Oscar-nominated screenwriter Emily Gordon and John Chu, who we all know from Crazy Rich Asians, they've gotten together to work on a project. My gosh, of all the things, Play-Doh, an animated movie, is now in the works with those two spearheading it as of this time. Your thoughts on the Play-Doh movie coming to life with all the things that's still out there? Mass Effect, which is not 100% confirmed, Gears of War, which we're still hoping for, all the other IPs out there that they could put on the screen in a TV series or movie. We have Play-Doh coming up first.
I'd say this is shaping up to be quite a hit.
Oh, the puns are back.
Not really interested in this, I'm just thinking about any time they tried to adapt a game or a child's toy into something and it's never turned out well. Like Battleship is my prime example here. Play-Doh might do well. I mean, kids like Gumby when it came out, but I don't know if.
Well, the Lego movie, remember the original Lego movie, that related to both young and old, and that did well at the box office. So this could very well do the same.
There were characters, though. Like Play-Doh has never had like characters, like mascots. Lego has. People look at Lego and be like, oh yeah, I have that Batman figure, or I have the Spider-Man or Harry Potter one. They don't look at Play-Doh and go, oh yeah, like I have that jar of red Play-Doh.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Like you said, things are molding out very well, and they're shaping up to be something that we'll see as far as an animated movie is concerned, probably 2 years from now. But it is a Play-Doh movie now in production. Your thoughts on it out there? Are you interested in it? Do you think it might find the same success as maybe a Lego movie has? And obviously the Lego movie has done very well over the course of time and everything going forward for it. But we want to hear your thoughts on a Play-Doh movie. Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, it's been a tremendous episode. Looking out for what's coming up later this week on Friday with me and Melinda Barkhouse-Ross coming up on the PCC Multiverse. But Josh, any last thoughts before we head on out?
No last thoughts at all. I think we've covered quite a bit, and I got an infant that needs feeding.
And you go feed that infant. Always great having you here. Know your time is limited, but I appreciate you always spending some time here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Culture Cosmos, aka Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.
You're listening to a Weeby Geeks Network podcast.
Tangent Bound Network. Let your voice be heard. TangentBoundNetwork.com.
Thanks so much for downloading the Pop Culture Cosmos, and stay tuned as more great podcasts are on the way. Thanks again for listening to us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.